Welcome back to Roofer2Roofer. We missed last week, but we're back this week. It's gonna have to be a little bit of a shorter one today, but we still got questions to go through. And if you guys that are watching have any questions, please do put those in the Q&A or put them in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll address those instead. Otherwise, we're just gonna go through the questions that we already have on our list. So let me pull up those real quick. All right. How's business? How's business, Scott? You things slowing down at all or just picking up, or
Yeah.
where are you guys at in
The
Ohio?
business is real good right now. Our lead flow is down right now, which is normal. School just let back in. There's always a stagnant time when school lets in. It's like clockwork. When school lets out, gets stagnant, picks up a little bit through the summer. It's decent, but people are on vacation, so it's not top of mind. School lets back in, it dies for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then after Labor Day, it picks right back up. So next week, I bet the house that it'll just pick right back up. But sales have been very good here the last couple of weeks for us. It seems like we're selling, a couple jobs a day, which for this time of the year, we're happy. So we're still plugging away and rocking and rolling.
Love it. Good stuff. All right. Have you we'll hit this first question here. Have you ever done historical buildings? Have you ever re-roofed a historical building in your town, Scott?
Yeah, we get into them every once in a while. We got that government contract with the state of Ohio, so every once in a while we'll get one. We actually just got one of the jobs we did. We just got sent to the governor,
Oh
and
wow.
so we might get some cool recognition through the governor from state of Ohio on project we did. But it the historical stuff's a pain in the ass. It's just a nightmare, and we try to avoid it like the plague. Because it being in the Northeast, up here, Marietta, the town that I live in, was I think the first founded city in the state of Ohio. So very, very historical area. All the surrounding areas very historical. But man, to meet their requirements just suck. So when we bid those jobs, I mean, they might be at 80% gross margin, 90% maybe. Like we are not bidding them to win them, and sure as shit, we'll get one every once in a while, that comes through and we get it, and we'll do it, and we'll beat our heads against the wall the whole time, and we'll make really good money when we get done.
Yeah, that makes sense. What's the biggest risk factor there? Like where do you see like the most kind of mess ups or things that cost money?
Honestly, the biggest risk is in the safety, because on historical buildings, they're going to be right downtown, like right on a sidewalk. So it's scaffolding clear around the building. Everything's roped off. It's
Mhm.
usually like slate or terracotta because it's a 200-year-old freaking building. So it's very, very safety oriented. You've got all the eyes of the city watching you. You've got OSHA definitely involved. Um, it sucks. Like, I actually drove by one the other day that we bid in another town. I was on my way to Columbus, and I drove past and I called Josh. I said, "Is this that job you bid last year?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Well, they're finally doing it." I said, "Thank God we didn't get that thing." I'm looking at all the scaffold and all the safety and all the fence. They've got permits to block the sidewalks, and it's like, it's just, yeah, we'd have made a bunch of money on it, but sometimes you got to weigh the stakes are just not worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you. Okay, we got a question from James. Let's answer this. Thanks for the question, James. I'm going to split this into two questions, so we'll do it one at a time. So the first question is, what is your advertising strategy, Scott?
what is my advertising strategy?
What kind of
Um,
advertising do you do?
yeah, so I mean, basically, we have dropped the majority of our uh, digital paid ads this year. We ran them early in the year. We've pretty much dropped all of them. Actually, we have dropped all of them, and we've really focused on SEO basics and then brand awareness stuff. So I believe most people hire a roofing contractor by going to Google and searching roofing contractor near me. I think the other way they do it is you've built a really solid brand and you've pounded it into their heads and
I think they're
be
losing
able to
you.
search. I just switched internet services, so I should be good.
Okay, yeah, it sounds better.
My one that's off in the distance picking up. Sorry. Um, but yeah, so anyway, the brand awareness stuff, I'm just a big believer in because I think it drives Google traffic, and I think where people are always going to search you and find your number, find your email, is going to be Google. So if you build a really strong brand, so what just to get to the granular level of that, what I've been doing, I do a few things. So every morning as part of my routine, I do a company cam showcase from one of our previous days projects. Sometimes I'll do two. So that's it. It literally, I actually was training one of my people on it today. We did a training that took 15 minutes and we covered my morning routine for advertising. So the company cam showcase is a no-brainer. You embed it on your website one time, you go in company cam, you click maybe a total of 15 buttons, and it literally takes like 3 minutes. And you have updated your website, which Google likes. You know, you're adding photos to your website, you're adding keywords because you can type in a little description, and I always make sure I type in like uh, residential roof installation in Marietta, Ohio, right? So you know, I try to hit a few keywords, and then the other thing that I do every day is update each of our GMB profiles. So whether that is just adding a photo, or what I've done the last few days is a post to Google. So it'll allow you to add a photo and a description. And I've been doing that. I've been throwing some hashtags in there, throwing some keywords in the description. Nobody's probably ever going to see it. You know what I mean? Because it's 3/4 of the way down the page to find it. And then I even put like a call to action button. Google offers you a place to put a call now or an email now button, whatever. So I put a call now button for free inspection. Um, I've been doing this for a long time, and you know, one of our markets down Charleston is a very competitive market. Our website is not optimized. To my knowledge, we never got when we rebranded, we never got to the point that we actually got our website truly optimized with all the back end keyword work. Um, we ranked number 3 in Charleston, and we only have like 40 reviews. The guys ahead of us have hundreds. And there's guys below us with hundreds. But because we do the basics and we do them very consistently, we're ranking number 3 in almost every possible roof term search for that market. So I believe it works. It that might take 5 minutes, and I've got 4 GMB pages that I do that to. But I just drag and drop a photo out of company cam, type a description with some keywords, post it every single day about 8 o'clock in the morning. And I think the consistency and that continuous work gets Google's attention. But the brand awareness, we do billboards, we do radio, we post daily on Facebook. In my opinion, the billboards and the radio still are probably better than the daily post on Facebook because it's just the same people seeing that daily post. I think the other stuff is driving that traffic that doesn't know you, and that repetitiveness forces them to know you. So I know radio doesn't work in a lot of markets, but the billboards, they work in every market. But you have to be consistent with it. You have to do it for a long time, and you know, invest in that method.
Yeah. What I like about your strategy is, I mean, you've truly tested everything. You put your money. It's not like you're just sticking to radio because that's the way we've always done it. Like you've put a lot of money into the Facebook ads. You put a lot of money into online and compared it, and dollar for dollar, you've just found that leaning more towards the radio and billboards just bigger return, right?
I catch a ton of hell on the radio stuff because people are like, "Oh, it's old school. Nobody does that anymore. It doesn't work." Blah blah blah. Well, here's how I can guarantee you it works. And I'm going to contradict myself real quick because 2 days ago I went to a job site. I asked the guy. I said, "How'd you hear about us?" We were shooting actually a TV commercial. We're going to run a test on TV. We've never done it. We're going to run a test. I said, "How'd you hear of us?" He said, "Google." We got talking. He said, "By the way, Google's not really where I heard of you. I looked you up on Google, but I actually took a picture of your billboard down on Emerson Lane." Oh,
Yeah,
okay. So that shit works, you know.
yeah,
Um, Same thing happens with the radio all the time, but how I can prove that the radio works, it's not because my lead source uh, diagram shows that, because it doesn't. It truly doesn't show radio doing us any good. But I can look, we do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off on the radio. Our call volume will double or triple the weeks that we're on compared to the weeks that we're off. And it's like, I mean, it is on the nose. The day that it stops running, our lead volume drops. But there's strategy behind that. You can definitely burn yourself out and overspend on the radio. Because I mean, I spend like, and I'm in a little shitty market, and I spend like $7,500 a month. If I was to go full time, it'd be 15 grand a month. So it's the right call for us. It makes sense. We ran Facebook ads, and I know they weren't perfect, but I think they were pretty good. They're better than most, I would say. And for 10 grand, we got a little over 100 leads, and we didn't convert a single lead. We only got 4 appointments off of 105 Facebook leads. We did not sell a single of those 4. I'll take my 10 grand and put it in the radio and probably sell 20 jobs. So,
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. It makes sense. So yeah, I think James, we hit all aspects of your question there. I mean, Facebook may work great in some markets. It's just that it's not. It probably makes more sense from a brand awareness perspective. Like universally across the board, it probably makes more sense from a brand awareness perspective than it does for a lead generation perspective. Um, But the main thing is the things that absolutely crush with Facebook ads are where you can target a certain demographic of people that always need your service. You can target, that's the services that do well in general with Facebook ads. Roofing is not like that. Roofing is you generally have a very broad demographic of people that you're targeting, relatively speaking. Obviously, you're targeting homeowners, but it's like you have one homeowner, you have 2 homeowners. One of them, is loves Star Trek, and the other one loves football. Like they're both going to buy a roof from you. Like you can't. There's not a lot of interest that Facebook has that allows you to differentiate between someone that's going to buy a roof from you and someone that's not. And the thing is, the people that are going to buy a roof from you that you can target, they're only needing the service at a very specific point in time. So a very conversion focused advertising channel like Facebook is just going to be really hard to get an ROI on. Not impossible. And I think different markets are different, but as you found, Scott, in your market is just the money's better spent elsewhere.
So I'll tell you one last piece to that too is run Facebook ads. You blend in with the crowd perfectly. That's what everybody's doing. That's where everybody's spending a ton of money. Like I say, I'm in a very small market with very low competition, and I can scroll through my Facebook and see, in 10 minutes worth of scrolling, I might see, I don't know, I can say 10 minutes. 10 minutes is watching videos and shit too. I'll see 8 to 10 roofing specific Facebook ads. You just look like everybody else. So when we went to the radio, We crushed it last year. It was our first year really going on. We freaking crushed it. By the end of Q3 of last year, I turned the radio. I don't listen to radio. I'm not even a listener. I turned the radio on because I was actually on a job site helping a friend. We listened to radio. 8 different roofing contractors were running ads on radio. I had noticed that like our levels of success had kind of dipped. I got 8 other guys running roofing ads. I called the radio company. I said, how much am I spending compared to these guys? They said, well, you spend probably about as much as all of them combined. I said, well, you just go ahead and drop my contract. I'm out. They kept calling, wanting me to come back. And I'm like, here's the deal. I'll come back, but I'm exclusive. You don't play anybody else's fucking radio ads. And this year, we're back on the radio. We're kicking ass again. You got to find a place, and you can't do that everywhere, right? And not everybody can spend that money on one thing. I'm not saying that. But find a place you can stand out. You can't hardly stand out in Facebook. That's my point. It's not that you need to go be the biggest spender in one area, but the idea is go find something that you can do well in. SEO is tough in a big market. I'm in small markets, not real hard. Go find something that nobody else is really doing, and advertise in that manner. Maybe it's next door. Maybe it's door hangers and door knocking. I don't know. It just depends on your market. What we're going to start canvassing ourselves, because nobody in my market canvasses. We don't live in a storm area. So we're just always looking for things to do that everyone else is ignoring. And that's where we're putting our money.
Yeah. Zigging while everybody else is zagging. All right. If for you guys watching, please do put questions in the Q&A at the bottom of Zoom or in the chat, or just raise your hand and we'll address those. Otherwise, we're just going through our own questions. So we'll get back here to something from our list. In sales and roofing sales, what are some key indicators of someone who is ready to buy versus like kicking tires? How can you tell? What's the easiest way to tell the difference?
My sales guys, this is not a good question for me because I've been out of sales for a little bit, for a couple of years. But my sales guys, I talk to them every day, at least once a day. And usually it's toward the end of the day. And I'll ask them, how'd your appointments go today? They always tell me, so-and-so's out, so-and-so's out. But I think these two are going to close. I think it's just the conversation and when you build the relationship. Like, they know that this guy heard me out. He listened to my speech. He enjoyed my pitch. He enjoyed the product I was selling him, and I didn't scare him off with the price. And he's been on the phone with me twice since I left. You know what I mean? Like, there was relationship there. I think if you show up, you're getting the cold shoulder half the time, and they're just, hand me the quote so you can leave. You probably got a low chance. But if they're engaging in conversation, that's a great time to continue a relationship and keep conversating with that person. Because as long as you're talking to them, they're not talking to somebody else.
Yeah. As long as you have them actively engaged with you.
Yep. If you got their attention, it's hard for someone else to steal it.
Yeah. Yep. That makes sense. All right. Let's do. As a roofing contractor, what aspects of my business should can I / should I outsource to third parties?
Accounting, 100%. I mean, we spend $4,500 a month with our accountant, and it's a lot. Like, to me, that's a lot of money. And I looked at going a different direction this year because of it. But they do so good. I don't do payroll. I don't print checks, or I print them. I don't make them. They make them, and all I do is click print. I do zero bookkeeping. They send me P&L reports. They send me balance sheet report. I don't I do zero bookkeeping, and it's the greatest thing in the world. I don't have to. I literally log into QuickBooks once a week for about 5 minutes to print checks, and other than that, I just look at the dashboard in ProLine to manage, the company. I'm looking at the reports that are auto generated in ProLine. You know, the stats I need are right there in front of me. I don't need to go digging through QuickBooks and entering this bill and deducting this. And I would say most roofers come from a similar background as me. You probably started in the field, you started, in sales. You're not a freaking bookkeeper. You probably don't even know your numbers at all. Like, let somebody else know your numbers and teach you and just give you the data that you need to be able to understand. And most good accounts, like the one we've got, they'll have meetings with me and explain, hey, here's where you're spending significantly more than last year to date. Why is this cost so much more than before? Well, we did this. Shit, I need to quit doing that because that's too much, right? Like, they'll sit down and explain to you what's going on. I still don't claim to know my numbers. I still depend on my accountant to, keep me in check and keep me in line. It's the hardest part of the business, and why not just pay somebody to do it? The only reason it's $4,500 a month is because of the amount of transactions that we have. If you don't have that many transactions, it's not going to cost you that much. When I started with them, it was only like $1,200 a month. So it's just, it's a great way to spend money and know, right? Because as you grow, you're going to get audited. You're going to get, all these things are going to happen. You better have somebody on your side that can handle that shit. Because we got audited before I was dealing with an accountant. I thought we were going to just close the doors. You know what I mean? It was so miserable. And it's like, it turned out fine. But regardless, now we get audited twice a year. I don't even know that it's going on. You know what I mean? Hey, they found this, and this missing. You owe $3,000. Okay, sounds good. So yeah, that's where I would spend my money first place.
Accounting. What's the next place after that?
For outsourcing, if you're still early in business, a VA is a great place. It's a great place to take on daily tasks that here's my theory. I would have never grown my business if I'd have known what I know now. I would have stayed small probably, right? I'm at a point now that it's fine and I'm happy with where we're at, but I would never have done it again if I knew what I knew now. I would have a couple of VAs handling daily tasks, whether it's some marketing tasks, administrative tasks, things like that. And I would have just sold and project managed. Yeah, I would only done, maybe a couple $1,000,000 a year, but I have $30 an hour and 2 VAs taking care of all of the other bullshit that goes on in the business. And I'd be out pumping money out of jobs running a freaking 25% net. You know what I mean? So that's probably the other place. And even if you're small, wanting to grow, it's still a great place to start. We have a friend, Brian, that instead of hiring an employee, the first step he made was hiring a VA. It's a much easier transition.
VA, Adam's asking what a VA is. VA is a virtual assistant. So specifically, like most commonly, you can get like US based VAs, but typically you're going to hire someone outside the US for a lot less than you could hire someone in the US. They're going to work remotely. So you're going to interact with them over Zoom, Slack, or whatever you want to use to communicate with them. And then they can do everything that can be done remotely. And unless it requires being in person, they can do everything else.
Basically, at one point we had our guy, we had a VA and he was fantastic. Actually, we had 3 at one time and they were great. But I needed someone physical. We just outgrew that to where I could still have a VA doing some stuff if we got a little bit busier. I needed someone that could physically go deposit checks, could go assist in things, that kind of knew the lay of the land a little bit, because we have one phone that rings into 4 locations essentially. kind of hard to map all that out if you don't know the geographical area. It just got a little bit confusing because of where we were at in business. But yeah, I mean, the VAs are fantastic. We SMA was who we dealt with. It's $20 an hour, 40 hours a week, and they take a ton of shit off your plate and do a great job. They're even trained. Like SMA trains their people almost for you. You just have to teach them the specifics of your business.
Yeah. Yeah, they're great. All my experiences with them have been great. Yeah. We use a few VAs at ProLine. I mean, I guess technically you could look at our support team as being VAs, but they're more like internal. But we use VAs for some of our editing and stuff like that. And it's we live in a time and place where you can get talented people, highly talented, highly trained people from anywhere in the world, and you're no longer like that's literally just a thing in the last like 10, 20 years. Before then, it was just completely impractical to work with someone that wasn't local. And so we're this first time in history, and because of that, like there's just this opportunity, just because so many other places in the world, the cost of living is so much lower than the US. And so you can really use that as leverage to get some amazing people, but they can't do everything, as you're saying. Like they can't, there's some things that you just need someone in person for. A lot of things you just need someone in person for, especially in a business like roofing. But yeah, I mean, use it as a tool. Use it as a tool if you can.
Here's one of the best parts is they're not employees. There's no payroll tax. There's no nothing like that.
Yeah.
Straight, it was $20 an hour straight. There's no associated cost with that. And it's a little different than having an employee too. Like when you decide you want to part ways and let them go, it's not like you're firing someone in your town that depends on you for employment. They pick up and they move to the next company because they're very trained in roofing, and there's probably 5 other roofing contractors looking for a VA, So it's a little easier of a transition too. I mean, for me, that's the hardest thing in business is letting someone go. That kind of takes a little bit of that out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. But you can kind of rely on the VA service, for some of that kind of that HR, and it's like they're hired by the VA service and you're hiring the VA service. So there's a little bit of space there.
Yeah.
Let's do one more question. We do have a question that's provided. So Adam, we'll do this question from Adam, and then I do have to run. But this last question from Adam is, how do you find a VA? And so I think, well, there's 2 answers to that. There's like, what is the process, and B, like, who do you go to? SMA is the name that I know, and I think you've worked with before. Is there anyone else that you would, other than SMA support, that you would recommend?
If you're in roofing, call SMA. They, they literally specialize in roofing VAs. So it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what the website is for them, but honestly, you'd shoot me a message on Facebook and I can hook you up with them.
Yeah. There's 2 other companies that kind of come to mind, that I know do offer this, where there's Work Ninjas. I mean, there's a ton of them out there, but that specifically work with contractors, Work Ninjas and Sands Global, but they're both a little bit more general, whereas SMA like is specifically roofing. I don't even think they work with they might work with some other contractors, but they're very focused on roofing. And I have never heard I've always heard nothing but great things about everyone that's come from SMA. I've worked personally with a lot of the VAs from SMA, and they're great. They're great people, and they know what they're doing.
Adam, I just sent you a friend request on Facebook, so I'll hook you up. But yeah, it's the best way.
All right. We're wrapping up a little bit short today. Usually we go an hour, but I gotta run and got some family stuff to do tonight. So, but thanks everybody for joining, and thanks Scott, and we'll see everybody next week.
So yeah.